All right, now, is South Africa's democracy under threat? Well, the organization Undoing Tax Abuse believes it's time for civil society to be more involved in the running of this country. OUTA has joined a growing list of those calling for the scrapping of the ANC's cadre deployment policy. The organization says the policy is negatively affecting basic service delivery for citizens. Wayne Duvenage is the CEO of OUTA, and he joins us now live to give us more information. Of course, Mr. Duvenage, welcome to All Angles. We saw that the Chief Justice, Raymond Zondo, in fact, himself, in Volume 5 of the State Capture Report, says that the cadre deployment policy is actually unconstitutional. And, you know, it also comes back to cadres being like family members, not actually holding each other to account when they don't actually perform their duties.
Yes, absolutely, which is why we find such a lack of accountability, where we find people that are found wanting in positions throughout SOEs and right down to local government who fail to perform their duties, who are even involved in dubious contracts and corruption, retain their jobs. So it becomes very difficult for them to hold their appointed account, and their appointees are serving their masters. Very often, this is about financing the political party and the connected people linked to it. So cadre deployment has become a big problem in this country, and service delivery is immensely impacted by it. But it's not new. It's been around for a long time, and I think it happens in many countries with many political entities. The problem here is that it was just abused so badly that people who had no idea of the jobs and roles they filled were put into positions because they're pliable, and money needed to flow in certain directions.
And I mean, Mr. Duvenage, this also for me comes back to the possibility of the lines between, for instance, the separation of power, the lines between government and the ANC or political parties being blurred. Because if you're a cadre and you are deployed for the ANC, my understanding is that you're there to actually execute the mandate of the party and not necessarily do what's good for the country.
Exactly. It becomes a case of, you know, fill these roles and do what you can do for your party, not for the country. And we've seen so much of that, which has created so much waste of money, which is why many municipalities have collapsed. And it does come down to political meddling, which is allowed when cadre deployment takes place, and it has no interest. Cadre deployment, to the extent that it has gone awry in South Africa, has no interest in serving the public. It has everything to do with serving the political party. And we've wasted years now and billions of rands, and it's going to take a while to recover. What we need to do to start off with is ensuring that the people have the qualifications to fill the roles that they fill. And again, in municipalities, we find bookkeepers in charge of multi-billion rand budgets in big municipalities. Try and run a big business of a multi-billion rand a year without a CA running the financials and the administration and the financial hygiene, and you quickly bring a company to its knees. Well, that's exactly what's happening. They're not running these businesses the way they should, or these entities the way they should. So state-owned entities have been decimated, you know, from world-leading organizations like Eskom, like Denel, like SAA, reduced to, you know, bankruptcy and limping along, not paying salaries, pretty much broken entities.
And I mean, you know, what I find interesting also, Mr. Duvenage, maybe we should actually accelerate the topic on whether South Africa should move from the current elections processes to actually voting for an individual instead of a party, maybe. Because if you look at it, for instance, when our democracy was under threat last year in July, a year ago now, you know, when people started to loot, etc., and there was a lot of violence, especially in two particular provinces, and that was reaction to the former president having been sent to prison by a constitutional court because he actually went against an entire constitutional court. But also there's the argument that, you know, some government officials have made that some of these lawyers and justices that we're supposed to actually answer to when we get to court were also our comrades during the apartheid days. So the whole topic is quite interesting when it comes to what it means then for this ordinary South African and whether or not we'll all have a taste of this democracy and freedom.
Exactly, which is why we've been calling for, and many others have been calling for, meaningful electoral reform. It started a couple of decades ago. In fact, the Van Zyl-Slabbert report has tabled a number of alternatives to the current one. And the current one is exactly this, is that you vote now for a political party. You do not know who that political party is going to be putting into parliament to represent you or I. Whereas what we want to see is the public voting for individuals, whether they're political party aligned or not, or part of a political party, but we want to know the individual, the person, so that they're not lists, that are compiled in the back rooms of Luthuli House or wherever the political party's head office is, but they are people that we can say, okay, if this is the person that the ANC or the DA, whoever is putting forward to stand in my constituency, they will not get my vote, even though I might like the party in general. And that will change things completely, so that you don't have a parliament that looks away while state capture happens, that starts to hold the various ministries to account and through the portfolio committees. So it starts right there. And I think if we can get constituency representation, and we can start to remove this cadre deployment debacle, which has really become a serious problem for the country.
Well, thank you very much for your indulgence. That was OUTA CEO Wayne Duvenage speaking to us there.